yeah, that's it. You just tuned in to the Digital Cartridge Podcast with Sean and Micah. Listen up as they deliver you the most epic show covering movies, television, video games, and wrestling. And now, here's Sean and Micah.
When two meme lords get together, this is what you get. Digital Cartridge. Man, I really feel like it's been too long, even though for our listeners it's only been 2 weeks, but for us, so everything just feels, every time we do this, I feel like, what do we do again? We do a podcast? How does that go? Like, we have these segments, and I really forget how they go all the time.
It honestly feels like it's been longer than 3 weeks for real though. I was thinking about it today. Like I had to go in and put a schedule in my phone because I was like, oh shit, we got to record tonight.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't help that, I obviously went on vacation / got married at the same time. So, that whole 11-day trip made it feel like 2 months ago, when we started recording. I was just like, because I remember I had everything set up to, pre-post when I was out of town, and like coming back, I'm just like, man, I haven't even like turned on the computer, and it feels like literally a month because obviously February is such a short month.
Yeah, except this year we got that extra day.
Oh yeah, we get that leap year, which it was funny going through like Facebook and seeing stuff actually posted on the 29th, not knowing, not paying attention that it was a leap year, obviously, back in 2016. So I'm like, I posted this. I was like, okay, whatever. That's funny.
Yeah, I was watching College Game Day on Saturday, and they had a girl on there they were talking to because her birthday is on the 29th. Like she was born on like a leap year. And she's like, yeah, I'm 5 years old. And she was like in college.
Yeah, because I mean, I posted some stupid shit. Like I said, air in the hands, mother stickers. This is a fuck up. And I was like, that's funny. I posted it, but I'm not going to see it again for another 4 years.
Yeah, Tom Hop was freaking out too. Like I had nothing on my Tom Hop because it doesn't happen that often.
Yeah, exactly. Like I know our buddy Sean Downey over there at Nerdy Thursday was like telling people to basically leave a time capsule on his wall so he could see stuff again every 4 years.
That's funny.
But in other news, I'm Sean.
Hey guys, Micah.
And this is, of course, Digital Cartridge Podcast. And you came here either to listen to us talk about random nonsense again, or you actually came here to listen to the episode about Lemmings. And it's for the Super Nintendo version because there's multiple different ports. It's about Lemmings, and we're not talking about the little short, furry-footed rodents that are basically just apeshit crazy, and they're known for mass migration, and they will strip a habitat bare. But we're not talking about those. We're actually talking about the video game. So
If you came here just to hear us talk about Lemmings, you need to stop and reevaluate what the fuck you're doing with your life.
yeah, or you like just jumping off. That's here nor there. So I know I've had a lot going on, and
That's what I was going to say. So you've got a little bit to talk about.
Oh boy, do I! I mean, obviously, like I mentioned earlier, I got married to my best friend Angelica. So I mean, that was cool. We got married on 2/20. So my biggest thing was she was like, why do you want to get married on this date? And I'm like, when I get old and senile, it'll be really easy for me to remember too. It'll be really easy along the way. So that's one good thing. But we eloped. Nobody got invited. We went down to Florida, got married on the beach, and I mean, it was really surreal, and it couldn't have gone better. And we got to go to a bunch of theme parks while we were down there because we were staying in the Orlando area. So obviously we went to SeaWorld, Universal, 3 of the 4 parks at Disney. We went to everywhere but Animal. So I mean, it's a really, really fun trip. I mean, I've never been to Disney. I've never been to SeaWorld. I've never been to Universal. So what sucked about Universal is, there was so much cool stuff beforehand that they've obviously got rid of, like the whole Jaws ride and the Back to the Future and stuff like that. So I never got to experience it. But they had, a lot of cool stuff like the whole Harry Potter world, which I'm not the biggest Harry Potter fan in the world, but I know the lore. I've seen the movies, through all of them. And I mean, it felt really cool to go through it, even though one of the rides was broke down the whole time, which is Hagrid's ride, which is the newest one there. And it's supposed to be the tits. It just sucks. I mean, if we do go back, we'll make a day just for the Harry Potter stuff because that whole area is just immersed in that stuff. I mean, it's amazing. And just people go there just for the just for the Harry Potter stuff. They don't care about any of the other stuff from the ride.
Nerds.
But I mean, that's the same as people that go to Disney for the Star Wars stuff. Like, I'm not the biggest Star Wars person in the world. I know the movies. I know general lore. I've seen them all, and obviously we kept up on the Mandalorian. They have a ride there called Rise of the Resistance, and you can't just stand in line for this ride. You have to get what they basically a boarding pass for this. And if you're not at Disney by like 5, 6 o'clock in the morning, reserving for that day, you're not going to. Luckily, Angelica has a friend that worked, and her roommates work for Disney. So, and one of her roommates just happened to be working that ride. So we got in there, and they got to push us through a boarding pass and all that, and it was freaking amazing because we didn't have to wake up, the crack of dawn to go reserve this pass. You got to be on Disney property for the app, and all this other stuff, which it was cool. And we rode, I'm gonna tell you, probably 95% of the rides all at Disney. I mean, obviously, we didn't ride some, and even though Disney is aimed towards a younger crowd, I had a blast. Like I said, I've never been there before, so I guess living through my childhood that I never got to live through was really cool.
I've only been there once. That was back like we went for um senior trip, and they do like Project Grad. So we were there. That was really neat. They shut the park down at like 8 or 9 o'clock, and then all of these seniors from high schools all over come in and basically take over the park, and you're there until like 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning.
That's cool. That's cool.
And we
Like,
were like, they do the fireworks show, and they have like concerts. I want to say when we were there, like Petey Pablo performed, like
oh
because they
wow,
make
wow.
a whole thing out of it, because that was right around the time like he was real popular and whatnot. But it might not have been him, but there was some rapper that performed, and like that was the whole thing, was going to Project Grad at Disney and being up all fucking night.
That's cool. Like Epcot was under massive amounts of construction because they're getting ready for the new Guardians of the Galaxy ride and some other stuff. So it really wasn't for me. Like I never knew that inside I guess the golf ball or whatever you want to call it, that's actually like a little ride, tour inside of it, which I didn't know that existed. There's a thing there called like Mission Space, which I rode the easy side of it because there's a green side and an orange side, and it's kind of like you're going. The green side is basically you launch a rocket from Earth and you get to like look outside of Earth, and the other one goes to Mars. But the one in Mars spins like really freaking fast, and I don't do rides like that. Like Graviton, that's at the fair. I won't touch Gravitron. I remember riding it when I was young, and they had to stop the ride because I sat down. Like something about that G force against me just does not do.
Had y'all fucked up?
No, no. I went through the green. I went through the green side. Like I specifically was told, like when they tell you go to the green side. And years of knowing, like Tower of Terror, I always thought that was a standing ride. Like I thought you were like standing in an elevator and it just dropped. I didn't know you got to sit down in it. So I rode that, and I don't do well with dropping rides. Kind of like the big circular thing when they all put you in a chair and they kind of lean you forward and it just drops down like however many 100 feet or whatever. Like I've done one of those one time and I don't deal with it. But I did Tower of Terror, and I didn't learn halfway through the ride because it's on a randomizer. It can either be 2 floors you can drop or all 13 floors. Well, I didn't know that there's handles by the seats. So I'm on this one ride, and it's probably dropping probably 5 or 6 stories. And halfway through the ride, I learned there was handles, and I was just like, "Holy shit!" Because like I was like not comfortable. I'll say that's the easiest way to say it.
And the only thing I remember about Epcot, we went the day after Project Grad, the best I remember. And I remember me and my buddy Brian were so tired that like we went, because you go around and do like around the world, like all the different
Exactly.
restaurants and whatnot. And we were in the Italian part. We went to a pizza place, and me and him, like, we ate and then laid our heads down on the table and slept for like 5 fucking hours. Just in
Oh,
the
dude.
middle of Epcot, in the middle of this restaurant, me and him were out.
Like, see, Epcot was the last day that we went. We went and finished Magic Kingdom, which was ended up being a day and a half, and so we rode the tram over there to Epcot and got in, and we went to eat lunch at one of the Japanese hibachi places. And I'll admit, like hibachi, the people there are always very animated. Wherever you go, like Benihana or any Japanese steakhouse, which it was cool because the lady, in all these places in Epcot, like if you're from Japan, like if you're in the Japan part of it, you're actually originally from Japan. Like they don't pick like an American, to come work in those countries. They want it to be as authentic as possible. But the chick that we had that ran this was amazing. Like, even in the oil, she was able to write the word Disney just like they write it, on the screen. But backwards and upside down is the way she had to write it. So I was like, first of all, I'm impressed by that. And she could, she started singing, some of the like the Disney songs. They always make the volcano, usually out of the onions. She made a snowman and was doing like Let It Snow stuff, and it was funny. It was a great time. But obviously that's our sixth day of theme parks at that time, and I'm exhausted because if you go back there, that's one of the farthest walks in Epcot is all the way back there to the Tokyo side. And by the time we sit down, I'm just exhausted, and we're sitting there at that table, and I was like, I would lay my head down like you did, but that's a 500-degree flat top. That's the last thing I can lean my head down on.
Which one is it that has like Tomorrowland or Futureland or some shit like that?
That's Magic Kingdom.
Okay. Yeah, that was my
Yeah,
favorite one because all I remember about that night or that day or whatever it was when we were there is going through like a model of like a future home. And at
yeah.
this point, it was like that was 2002. I'm fucking aging myself. Um, that was 2002, and I remember walking in there, and the futuristic bathroom had like the TV and the fucking tile, and they had the mirror you stood in front of the mirror, and it could tell you your weight and your temperature and your blood pressure and all that stuff, and that shit
Wow.
blew my mind.
Yeah, a lot of that's obviously changed. I mean, they still have like the little carousel thing that Walt designed for the World World's Fair, which spun around. But we obviously went to it did Space Mountain, which is funny because Angelica's not a big roller coaster rider, and especially indoors that's dark. So she stood in line with me the first time because we didn't have fast. We had fast passes for it, but like the way that Disney fast passes are, you don't have to like buy an actual like add on to like your entryway ticket. It's basically with your ticket, you're awarded 3 fast passes that you can find a ride for. It's all in time frames and it's only on availability. Well, we got into Space Mountain, and even though you have the fast pass, you still got to wait a little bit because there's a long line of waiting. And she was fixing to leave, and she ended up getting on the cart and riding with me. And like I had to hold her legs the whole time while she was riding, but she ended up loving that ride. So we got to eat breakfast the next morning when we were there, and we were luckily in the park before the park opened. So as soon as breakfast was over with, we got to walk briskly all the way back to Space Mountain, even though I was full of breakfast. And we rode it again. That line had like a 2 hour and 30-minute wait most of the time.
Yeah, that's stupid.
But I mean, Hollywood Studios is fun. I mean, it's obviously got the Aerosmith roller coaster, which is extremely outdated. I mean, at that point, just remove Aerosmith and put anybody else in there, and it would work out. But that roller coaster is cool because it's not a fast roller coaster in all, but like the release that it shoots you off at, I think goes around like 60 plus miles an hour. So it's like an instant like jolt, like of whiplash, which is pretty interesting. But see, I always psych myself out on these because she'll stand in line with me, but she'll leave, as soon as I get on the cart. So I'm usually next to some random, and I'm like, I think it breaks my confidence level a little bit because I'm like, hey, I'm sitting next to somebody I know, so I can't be like, hey, this is gonna be cool. I'm just like by myself. I'm like, here we go.
Here we go. I can't do a good
Pretty
Mario.
much. Yeah. Here we go. I don't know how good that one was because I'm sick. I'm recovering from the flu. So I'm trying to edit out as many coughs as I can to make this not sound like a sick man podcast, basically. But I mean, other than that, I mean, that's the whole trip consisted of. We went to Florida, got our marriage license, spent some days in some theme parks, got married, hung out with some friends that I have down there. We got to hang out with her friend and went back to the courthouse, got our certificate, and headed back home. I drove, home basically 12 hours with the flu.
Did they give you any shit with getting a marriage certificate from being like out of state?
No, Florida's easy. Like, I mean, I think it was like $100, for like the certificate and all that. And you don't even have to have like, it's really easy. Like, as long as the person is a member of a church, or, you can even be like one of those website, ministers, you can marry somebody anywhere in.
That's pretty dope. I guess that's why so
Yes,
many people go down there.
I guess so. I mean, I just, at that point, we were like, it was either get married at the courthouse or, while we're down there, just go get married at the beach. I mean, it's only an hour away from where we were at. So
You know what's bumming me out a little bit right now?
tell what's that? What's bumming you?
I'm all up in my feels because this is the first time in 4 years. Like this is the anniversary of our typically our Louisville trip.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, this is the first time I got to meet you, and kind of bonded our friendship that created into this.
Yeah, it doesn't help that they changed the date. Like that screwed everything up for me to begin with. But I was burnt out on it. I was putting in a lot of effort and a lot of time on my
Oh,
end.
yeah, I mean, you basically dedicated an extra like 120 hours in general, just leading up to prom, if not more, for all the kinds of events and just booking stuff and everything you were doing. Which I think Kevin Link's doing it for this year over there. But I mean, best wishes on you. I know it's a lot for one person to take in.
Yeah, and like I said, I'm a little in my feels just because everybody, like, I know not everybody's going that has went the last 3 years, but not getting to see everybody's gonna suck.
Yeah, which I'm going I'm going Saturday. I'll be there. Probably spend the night into Sunday. There's obviously some people I want to see, and unfortunately, you have plans that interact with that. But I had the weekend off, and I was like, and then we were given the Blockbuster World Championship carts to put on that competition by Cat House Games. So I'm standing up to my word. I was like, all right, I'm gonna go there. Run this competition. So we can give away the carts and everything. So it's not only promotion for us, but it's also given back, which was given to us. So I mean, it's a 3-way, but it's not gave. It's a 3-way, right?
And that's an Andy Samberg song, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, now I'm gonna have that stuck in my head all night.
you're cool.
You're gonna
But
be over
like
here
there's
talking about lemmings, and it's not gay if it's in a 3-way.
I mean, it's not gay. I mean, if it's a lemon 3-way, it might be a little gay. But like I said, there's genuinely people I want to see there, even though some people might not want to see me. I mean, but it ain't nothing but a party. I mean, it's a bunch of people. We're gonna have fun. I mean, it's a Louisville Arcade Expo. If anybody's going, hopefully I'll see you there.
Battlemania.
So I got my ass kicked again.
The thing is, I wouldn't really consider an ass kick. I mean, it was pretty close. I mean, we were both on the cusp, and obviously, you picked a Christmas movie. I think.
that's what that's what we'll go with. We'll blame it on that.
Yeah, we'll blame it a Christmas movie versus somebody that basically got his whole fucking body except for his face shot up.
So if you're not familiar with Battlemania, just to give you a little peek behind the scenes on what it is, myself and Sean both pick a movie. We have a predetermined genre and time frame that we use to decide what movies we're going to select from. The most recent one we did was 90s action. Is that right?
Yeah, I believe it was '90s action.
It's been too long.
Yeah,
We did, yeah, 90s action. And we put up our two choices. The twist on the Battlemania is that the listener, that's you, if you're listening to this, gets to directly influence what movie we will cover in the future. As when we rotate through our movies, we're going to rotate through the Battlemania winners. So, like I said, Sean won again. We had a total of 201 votes, which is hella good. And you had 108 of those votes with your winning movie. You can go ahead and tell everybody what that was.
your move, creep. RoboCop.
And it took down my Christmas movie, which was Die Hard.
Which I mean, Die Hard was winning at the beginning, and it kind of just took. I guess after like people wake up and finally we start getting more votes in general on Saturdays. I mean, that's our most active time. It starts going, but I even added you into a Bruce Willis Die Hard fan group, and it still like didn't win. I mean, it was there. It was almost there. It was so close.
Yeah, I lost by 15 vote 15 John Voights. I lost by
Yeah,
15 votes. So in the grand scheme of thing, not a lot, but it's still a lose, still a loss.
did we just create the Voight meter?
the John Voight.
Yeah. So like now on the bottom of the screen, it's gonna be like 15 little John Voight heads.
That can replace the what's the side basket? It's the Voight basket.
Yeah. Be like, just put a John Voight sticker on it. It'll be all right. So you know it's
Well, since you won, you get to tell everybody the next genre. I like saying that word.
well
and
genre.
and
Yeah.
what you picked.
So the wonderful world of random.org gave us 1990s crime movies, which, you know, even when like I looked it up, I was like, crime movies. I was like, is that different than action? Is it different than what? You know, they all kind of relate to themselves. And this is a personal favorite of mine, and it's the movie True Romance, which was out in 1993, which is directed by Tony Scott, but the screenplay was done by Quentin Tarantino, and it involves Christian Slater and Patricia Arquette. And all I'm gonna say is, whatever you picked, I still hope this movie wins, because like this has some of the best lines in film that I try to recite on a daily basis, even though I can't repeat some of them because some of it's
So mine's like I went off a 90s crime movie list to pick mine, and I don't know that it's necessarily a crime movie, but it was on a list from IMDb, so it's gonna count.
oh, most definitely.
And if you wanna listen real close, you can hear my brother get rock hard when I say what movie I picked. So listen, you'll hear him even if he doesn't listen to this until like next week. It's gonna be like bong. I picked Boondock Saints.
Nice. That's a cult classic and favorite.
Yeah, that's like his all-time favorite movie.
Have you ever seen True Romance?
I have seen both of these actually.
That's good. That's good. I mean, would you know which scene I'm talking about that's overly racist that we can't repeat?
Man, not offhand because it's been a long time since I've seen it.
Do you remember the eggplant scene?
No.
Oh, I'll leave a clip in the show notes, but I can't repeat it word for word.
I've got so much movie and TV crammed into my head. Like once I see something, I'll remember it, but I watch so much stuff that I start to lose touch on some of it.
Oh, most definitely.
It starts getting pushed out for other stuff.
I think this is gonna be a really fun Battlemania.
So like I said a little bit earlier, you as a listener gets to directly influence what movie we will eventually cover when those come up in rotation by choosing which movie you prefer out of our two. And the genres come back around. So if you have a suggestion that you would like to nominate for the next time we cover 90s crime or 90s action or whatever it might be, you can drop that in the comments. But the Battlemania posts always go up the day after the episode posts go up. So let us know what you think, which one you like. And if you're in a diehard fan group, you can suck it.
Hey, meet me over by the water cooler. So, what's up? I gotta fill you in on what I've been watching. Oh, jeez. This may contain spoilers.
I am finally caught up on Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
That's what's up. I like how this season's brought back a lot of the older characters so far.
Yeah, I talked about it just briefly last time, but like I can't, I hate waiting for new episodes. Like I binged through so many seasons at once. I hate waiting for new episodes now because I'm like,
Like,
okay, when's the next one? When's the next one?
like when the Pimento episode came out, I was like, "Fuck, I want to listen to it anymore." But when I was like, "All right, it's really enjoyable." Like he's a person you love to hate, but like, all right, I really like this now.
And he's in a lot of other stuff now that I've seen that character. Like I see him. Hell, he's in the John Wick movies. We watched John Wick
Oh yeah,
3 the other day, finally, and he's in that.
you know, I started watching off of your recommendation is Mr. Robot.
Oh yeah.
I'm only 4 episodes in. I don't know what to think 100%. Like I feel that I'm not even gonna ask you to answer any of this, but like I feel like Christian Slater doesn't exist to me. Like it's just the way that it's played so far. I'm just like, does he exist or does he not exist? Because this is so weird. Like only because there's so much drug interact. It's pretty interesting. I can't wait to see how the rest of it plays out.
My favorite episode of that whole series is the I think I talked about this before. There's a Full House episode where they basically like they do a spin of like the whole Full House intro, like with the
Hmm.
characters and everything. It's fucking hilarious.
I mean, the show is just it's different. I mean, it's out there.
And it's one of those that like USA went full tilt with it towards the end. Like you don't see many um I don't not like non premium cable channels that'll drop the F bomb in their episodes.
Yeah.
But Mr. Robot, like USA went for it. They was letting them do whatever they wanted.
And what trips me out about that show is there's so much like pure like hardcore nerd like PC talk that's probably way over your head that it's like some of these words are just like what.
Oh, for sure. Like there's some of it that you have to take you basically have to read with context to it. Like you can't just unless you're into coding and stuff, you don't know what the fuck they're talking about.
Exactly.
But it's so good. And
Yeah.
even when it gets into the final season, it's still twisting and turning stuff. Like there was
That's
a
good.
point in the final season where like it had me second guessing the entire run of the series, like on what they were doing and how they were presenting it. So you talking about Mr. Robot and his dad, like those kind of twists and turns and stuff, they don't stop.
That's okay. Yeah, because I mean, obviously I've been confused since like the first episode, and I'm okay with it. But I was just like, man, I was like, how did Micah even like pay attention to this? Because it's out there. Like it's almost one of those ones like you feel like you have to watch some episodes more than once just to catch everything.
Well, and you talking about being confusing and not, it's a lot like Castle Rock or this new show that's on now that we've been watching, The Outsider. Like the first 4 or 5 episodes of Outsider, like you're like, what the fuck is going on here? And then it'll have that one episode where it kind of reveals everything and like pulls everything together, and you're just like, oh, and then everything else makes sense.
Yeah, I can get it. I can see it.
That's another one. Like once season one's done, I don't know if there'll be any more seasons of it, but you need to watch that. Like you like that, you like Castle Rock and whatnot. Like you need to watch The Outsider.
Yeah, I'll look into it. I mean, right now it's just one show at a time for me.
Um, I went all the way through season 2 of Sex Education on Netflix. Like that's a really funny show. It's
Did you learn
British.
anything?
Hell no. Um, it's British though, so like all the characters have that British accent, but it's got the girl from X Files. What's Gillian Anderson?
Yeah,
Like she plays the mom, but she's got a British accent, which tripped me out watching the first season. But it's really well done. It's really funny. Uh, and then I sit down and got all through the whole season of Lock and Key after you told me about it.
yeah. How do you like it?
It's really good. It reminds
Yeah,
me of Stranger Things, but not being as like dark and gritty.
yeah. I mean, it's got the whole witch in the wardrobe feel to it and some other stuff. But I mean, it's interesting. Like I said, a lot of people that are the true hardcore on the graphic novel, they want to snarl at it a little bit because it doesn't feel true to it. But honestly, with anything these days that you have to make an adaptation from it, that's what you have to deal with.
The only thing I wasn't a fan of, and this is because I watch a lot of shit on my phone, is some of the scenes were real dark. And like when
Yeah,
I watch them, like when I've got it turned on my phone, like I turn my settings up to like the ultra definition, whatever is above the regular shit. Like I turn my brightness level all the way up, and there were some scenes that I still couldn't see what the hell was going on. Like I just had to infer by the dialogue what was happening because it was so dark,
yeah,
just
and I
from a
mean,
cinematography standpoint.
and that's a lot of that. A lot of even that show, I felt like it's so dark anyway. In general, like it makes sense.
Is there any other TV shows you, are you just Mr. Robot and that's it?
That's really about it. I started watching some show on Netflix earlier today because I was just a little bored and wanted some shorter stuff, and it's got the chick that played in It, the one that played Beverly, and she's kind of like a superhero ish. I can't even remember the name of it, but I'll put it in the show notes because it wasn't very memorable because I'm like 8 episodes in just out of boredom, but it was like one of the what's the top trending now on Netflix because now Netflix tells you what's the top 10 being watched in the U.S. or whatnot, and that's all I've really been
Oh,
watching TV.
you're talking about it's like I am not okay with this or something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah, that's what it is. I'm not okay with this or whatever, and it's very childish, but at the same time, I was like, if it's got a superhero aspect, I want to see what's going on. Oh man, it's weird.
I
I can't give
almost
you.
I almost started that, but then season 2 of Altered Carbon dropped, so I started it and said that's a really good like sci-fi. Um, what's the fucking movie with Harrison Ford where he's the replicant? Yeah, like Altered Carbon reminds me of Blade Runner. It's like
Nice.
like futuristic, like sci-fi. Like it's really good.
I've been watching some really weird movies. There was one with Daniel Radcliffe called Guns Akimbo, and it's kind of like what's the movie with the people in the cars? Is it Death Wish or something like that, where they all have to fight each other? But
Yeah, with shit, I can't remember his fucking name. The
but
dude from Poseidon that swims down and
sure,
Kurt Russell,
eh,
isn't he
maybe.
in Death Wish?
No, not Death Wish. It's one of those movies where like it's a bunch of like people driving cars. They have to kill each other off, to survive. But this is like a one-on-one. It's they call it Schism, and basically it's this chick which is having to kill off other people. It's basically like a battle of one person versus another, but they have guns and it's just to murder each other. Well, Daniel Radcliffe is kind of like a hacker and he's talking shit in one of the chat rooms, and the admin from the Schism tells him basically to shut the fuck up or he's going to fuck him up. And he doesn't, and they show him his IP address and they come after him. And what they do is they beat the shit out of him and they bolt two guns to his hands. So guns akimbo, two guns, and they make him fight the chick that's the right now like the overall winner. And the movie sounds really shitty, but it was actually somewhat enjoyable. So I'll go off with that. But like, there's been a handful of just really shitty movies I've been watching, and that's obviously one of them. But those were really just to pass the time while we were out of town. Just like, hey, let's go to bed watching whatever's on TV type of deal.
Oh, if you want to talk about a shitty movie, have I got a shitty movie to talk about?
It's not Sonic the Hedgehog, is it?
No, I watched that too. That was actually pretty entertaining.
I really highly enjoyed that movie. Since we're obviously the AMC A-list members at Disney Springs, they have an AMC theater. So one of the nights I was like, let's go see a movie, afterwards. And we went to go see it, and I always talk about not having a good time at cinema. Sometimes this is the worst time I've ever had at a theater. Just there's a dude and his girlfriend sitting next to us, and every time something happened, he would move his hand and like point it towards the screen. And I just wanted to really just tell him, like, I'm gonna cut your fucking hands off if you don't fucking move it, quit moving. But at this point, we're inside Disney. It's a free movie to us in a way, so we'll go see it. But I thought the movie was excellent. I've heard other people, complain about parts, saying here's the thing, it's not a kids movie. I don't give a shit what people think. Sonic is still, I would say this is easily like a teen and up movie. I mean, if you want to see kids to see this movie, that's cool, but it's not Pokemon. It's not cutesy wootsy. I mean, it still, deals with like real world stuff. And I thought Jim Carrey played an excellent role, in this, and I'm not even trying to make a pun on that as being Dr. Robotnik or, Dr. Eggman or however you want to call him. The movie is honestly the best video game movie to ever be created compared to anything that ever existed.
Yeah, he I was worried about him playing the role of Robotnik, but he did a really, really good job.
Yeah. And there's so many Easter eggs in this movie, which were great. And like, there's so much I love to talk about it. I mean, it's obviously we're not spoiling it if we're talking to it by now because it's been out for what 3 weeks.
Some of the puns, like we were watching, so I was watching on a Fire Stick, so I didn't get the full effects of like some of the action because the quality wasn't fantastic. But
Most definitely.
a lot of the jokes and the one-liners landed pretty solid.
Yeah, I mean, there's jabs and stuff like they make a hardcore jab at Nintendo multiple times when they're talking about the Mushroom Planet.
Yeah, that was funny.
And I was just like, even though Sonic is in the Nintendo world these days, but I mean, it's still a Sega IP, and it's always going to be the Sega version. But I loved how there's end credit scenes that, obviously are letting you know there's a second one. The whole thing with Tails, I thought that was great. I do like how they kept the original voice actor for Tails, but they didn't do Sonic's, which is fine because you can deal with Sonic. But I mean, Tails has a unique voice that we've heard, in times before. I'm interested to see. I like the whole how all the Enchidas, at the beginning with the Knuckles type people, were the bad guys. So it all leads on where you're gonna have this is gonna be more than just a sequel. You're gonna have probably a third, possibly.
Do you want to talk about the most shittiest movie I've seen in quite some time?
Let me hear it.
Because you watched it too.
Well, I watched a lot of shitty ones, so let me know which one it is.
The Girl on the Third Floor,
Oh,
the
dude.
one that's got CM Punk in it.
Yeah, like I had to like force myself to finish it. Unfortunately, that movie starting out was really shitty, and like it did get better throughout time, but it didn't help it out because it still stayed shittier. I mean, I say it got better, but it still got shittier at the same time. It's just you actually got to see more of what was going on.
Yeah, like last fourth of the movie, like they tried to like explain it and put it together and like tell you why everything was happening. But by that point, like I was so disinterested that if I hadn't been in a position to where I literally didn't have anything else to watch at that point, I would have just fucking turned it off and stared at a fucking wall.
And the only reason I watched this because Netflix says like number 7, trending in the U.S. today. I'm like, all right, it can't be that bad, and obviously it was.
Yeah, I wonder if those stats are in, like if that counts people who start it and then don't finish it.
It's got to be. I mean, just like even like our podcast, stats. Like I can know if it's like a 10-minute listen or 5-minute listen or like a full listen. So I want to know what their stats are based off of on.
Yeah, because it's not even like his acting's okay in it. Like it's not like he's an awful actor or anything like that. Just the story cohesiveness of it. Like there's so many major plot holes that it doesn't make any fucking coherent sense.
The other movie I watched it's an Elijah Wood movie called Come to Daddy, which is basically like a horror type film, and it's just as bad as that Girl on the Third Floor. I don't even want to
Nobody can make a good scary movie anymore. Like fucking hell.
unless you're Jordan Peele.
The new Candyman does look pretty good.
It does. I like how there's a lot of kickbacks to the original, which you'll have to be, on a remake like that. You got to give homage to that. But I think it's gonna be good. But I mean, honestly, Candyman movies have always just been pretty blah to me. I mean, well, I can go to the mirror and say his name 5 times, and shit's not gonna happen. I learned that when I was a kid.
I don't even know that I've seen the originals, to be honest.
They're okay. I mean, if you ever do go back and rewatch them, it's one of those movies you got to like understand. Be like, all right, I'm gonna put myself in the '80s and understand it this way. It's not bad. I mean, it's good. The storyline for Candyman has always just been a little like, okay, I get it. I mean, just like our storyline for Freddy, we never really had a prequel for that, so it's always just been like, okay, we're just gonna go with it without seeing it.
Yeah, like you said, you've got to put yourself in that time period to fully appreciate it.
Yeah, because otherwise, if you just walk into it and say, "Hey, I live in 2020," and I'm gonna watch this movie from 1980 or whatever, it's you gotta put the setting. I think that's why I still watch a lot of movies in VHS, so I can kind of just like release my brain and be like, I'm watching this on a CRT, I'm watching it in a VHS, like I'm trying to like position myself as well as possible to kind of get the full aspect.
You want to talk about something else that triggered me?
That's a lot of things in life, but yeah, go for it.
The stupid ass ending to the WWE Super Showdown pay-per-view
Now,
that
see,
was in Saudi Arabia.
I didn't get to watch it, but I know every year. Here's the thing: every year this Saudi Arabia shit, it's never great.
No, it's never good, and it's the only thing that I like about them is they're on a weekday and they're like, they start at like lunch. So for me, that's perfect because it makes my workday go that much faster because I can like kind of check out and like while I'm working, I'm watching. But it was stupid fucking ending.
And I guess that's whatever the prince wants, the prince gets, right?
I don't even know that it was him on this one. Like this was 1000% of Vince McMahon like trying to push Roman Reigns by making Goldberg. I don't know what the thought process is. Like all I can hear now is it's going to be Roman Reigns versus Goldberg at WrestleMania and the Battle of the Spears, and like somebody's
Yeah.
going to get hurt. Goldberg couldn't even lift up Bray Wyatt. Like he almost dropped him on
Oh,
his fucking head.
I mean, that's the thing. I mean, here's the thing. Goldberg is way past his prime, and I mean, I understand like digging up all these old IPs is cool and everything, but I feel like they're going too far. I mean, at this point, I mean, I just saw like John Cena's coming back for a fight, and everything else, and let these people be done. I mean, I understand like John Cena's a lot newer wrestler than Goldberg, but like if you're digging up wrestlers that are Goldberg's age, I mean, who else are you going to bring back? Is Stone Cold going to come back next too now?
Yeah, but at least with Cena, like he's doing movies, like he's the main villain in the new Fast and Furious. So like
Exactly.
he's got some pull. Goldberg is a fucking 50 something year old man who has a show on History Channel about rebuilding cars that gets canceled every 2 seasons. Like motherfucker is out of shape. He can't last more than 2 minutes in a ring anymore. And like you brought him back and put the fucking title on his ass. Like, why? Why?
Because they're fighting to beg, they're fighting for these numbers, to try to eliminate AEW from viewers right now.
Well, they're shit in the bed when it comes to that because AEW had their pay per view AEW Revolution last night. And like, if you're grading on a scale of 1 to 5, the fucking Super Showdown was like half a point, maybe a 1 if
Wow.
you want to be nice, and AEW was 4.5. Like they fucking just shit all over them.
Well, didn't a lot of wrestlers agree not to go back to Saudi after the whole shit that happened last year?
And they almost had it happen again this year with the coronavirus and bullshit
Yeah.
that like they were talking about sequestering them and like how they had backup plans upon backup plans in case flight plans got canceled. But
Yeah, I mean,
they were in a different city, like the and I don't know how much that means. Like they were in Riyadh this time versus last time they were in some other city that they got stuck in and yada whatever. It was just they've got I mean, they're doing too much. Me and you Sean from Nerdy Thursday were talking about this last night. Like AEW is running 4 pay-per-views a year essentially. So you've got one every 3 months. WWE is running one like every 2 fucking weeks. Like you just had Super Showdown this past Thursday, and then a week from tonight you've got Elimination Chamber, and then 3 weeks from that night you've got fucking WrestleMania.
UFC doesn't even dip in that hard, and they have events generally, once a month or every 45 days.
It's gotten to the point like the only thing I'm watching for WWE anymore is NXT. Like
Like, I know you got onto me for, you're like, why are you watching SmackDown? And I wanted to see what the whole John Cena thing was about, even though it was the very last 10 minutes of the whole show, which, I expected to be them, but I was like, come on, at least throw it in like midway, and bring them back, in the end of the show, make it a double feature, type of deal.
no, and they're gonna bring him in so they can cross promote Fast and Furious, and that's whatever. That's part of it. I mean, the dude's a bona fide movie star at this point. Like,
Oh, yeah, just like The Rock is.
yeah, like he's not as big as The Rock, but like Scorpion King and a little bit past like that with like the rundown and um all that
The
other shit.
Marine, you had The Marine with John Cena.
Yeah, like I would say the Marine and Scorpion King are like their entry level movies.
For sure.
And like Cena's about at the level of like the rundown and stuff like that, and he's about to hit that next level where with Fast and Furious where he's going to step up into the big time where The Rock's been in the big time for a little bit. But I see the appeal of bringing him back, but like you're bringing back fucking Goldberg and you're bringing back the fucking Undertaker again. Like, come on, man.
Quick talk about that Fast and Furious though is, he's supposed to be Toretto's brother. You could at least pull somebody in that looks more like Dominic Toretto, like it would actually be family other than John Cena.
I mean, if you go neck down, they're both just roided out. So
Yeah, I mean, I always laugh when I see that picture of now I'm drawing a blank.
Vin Diesel,
Vin Diesel, the one where he's like a little bit chubby and fat, and they always make fun of him recently.
I mean,
Have you seen that meme where he's walking down some stairs and he's not looking too muscular.
no, I have not seen that.
Yeah, I can't believe I couldn't remember Vin Diesel's name. I guess he's becoming less and less memorable to me because the whole Bloodshot trailer I saw was just like, is this 2000?
He's got that Guardians of the Galaxy movie money. Like he don't need shit.
Oh yeah, yeah, where he just says one word.
Yeah, he don't need shit. Sorry, I went off on a huge fucking wrestling rant.
It's fine. I mean, it's due for it. I mean, in the title, we talk about wrestling, and I mean, everybody got a break for a while, but now you get it. We said we're going to talk about it when pay-per-view events come back.
Yeah, and like I'm just gonna stop there because I'll keep on going for a fucking hour.
And now, what you came here for, the main topic.
If you've been waiting around for almost an hour, I mean, you're finally getting to listen to what we came for. So, it's funny because I pulled up the Merriam-Webster definition of lemmings, but somebody commented that lemmings are locusts of the mammals, and they will strip a habitat bare. Then they begin migrating towards to find a new feeding ground, swarming over boulders, around trees, and whatever stands in their way. If they run into a body of water, they try to swim across. And it's funny because that definition kind of really does relate to what these little shits are in this game, even though the box art even try to gives you a definition.
I'm glad somebody did because I didn't know what the fuck they were.
Obviously, according to the last episode, that we were confused with the game Worms at first, and somebody sent me a message like, "Please do an episode on Worms," and I was like, "Well, maybe one day." I was like, "We're having to, follow on our predetermined destiny of going through all these covers of Game Informer, and we're only on issue 3, so it's gonna be a while."
I mean, that depends. Well, I liked Worms. I won't shit all over it as much as I did Super Mario 2.
No. You mean Lemmings or Worms?
Worms. Now, if we do an episode over Worms, I won't. I'll probably be nice on that one.
Yeah, but obviously we're talking about the game Lemmings, which was released in the U.S. in March of 1992. Anything we find on Wikipedia, it really shoots more towards the Amiga because this came thing on many different platforms, and obviously this is a port of the Amiga, which it would have been great to play this with a mouse, even though this came out about 7 months before the whole Super Nintendo mouse. So playing this with a D-pad was a very interesting.
Yeah, I'm still not sure how I feel about that. Like it was difficult.
I mean, it's just hard. I mean, it's hard to hover over what you want to on a, because this game you can scroll with the L and R buttons on the whole map. So, and you have a cursor which you want to select your individual lemming with, and with a mouse it would obviously be a pinpoint thing, or able to move it into the pixel block. Which when you have a D-pad, I mean, you're limited to an 8-way. Which it's luckily you get 8-way versus a 4-way on this, because if it was just a 4-way direction, you'd be having hell trying to move a lemming on a directional, or diagonal path. So, do you mean go ahead and dive right into this, Mike, or do you want to talk about it a little bit?
Nah, you can because it's probably one of the easier concepts like for a game. So spoilers, I don't have a ton to say about it. So you're gonna have to carry the ball on this one.
That's fine. That's fine. So I didn't really figure out the best way to talk about this game. I do have the manual to read it off of, and also have the excerpt that we got out of the Game Informer mag, which, since we are covering the Game Informer mag, I'm going to read that in a second. But I want to tell you exactly what is a lemming from the manual itself. And it says lemmings are actually very small rodents. Every so many years, the lemming population explodes and grows to immense proportions. At this time, the multitude travel across vast spaces of land, oblivious to any danger that may confront them. The lemming's only concern is to migrate forward, each following the next, where they are going to ask. In almost a hypnotic state, they plunged by the thousands mindlessly into the sea towards annihilation. So, if that is a true definition of lemmings, it makes sense because the game's definition is adorable yet incredibly lost and known for walking off cliffs, wandering aimlessly into dangerous passageways, and drowning by the thousands in small pools of water. Without your help, they have no chance for survival. The thing is, these dudes are stupid as fuck. And the game is easy to a point. I mean, it's all about basically a maze. You have to defeat each one of these lemmings. They drop out, one by one out of a trap door in a way, and you have to move them through a map. And that's all you do is you just have to tell these lemons where to go.
Yeah, it's one of the like from a 1,000 foot perspective, like one of the easier concepts of get them from A to B, and that's it.
Exactly, but it's not that easy. So lemons may be mindless, but are luckily equipped with special skills that you must assign to them so they can travel safely through many dangerous terrains. An experienced player will know precisely where and when to assign these skills to the token lemons, who will build a safe path towards an exit and save the rest of their buddies. Your success is measured by it will take your brain power to rescue as many lemons as possible. Hordes of these cute little fellows march. A guilty conscience is not the only thing you will develop. It's sure to become. So there's multiple types of skills or tasks you can give these lemmings, and this is what helps you out throughout the whole game. Now you can assign a climber, which obviously when selected, the lemming will scale anything that stands vertically in his path. But once you give him this command, he will continue to be a climber the whole time you play the level. So even if he's selected to dig at a later time, when he's done with that digging task, he's gonna become a climber again. And then you have a floater. And when selected, this lemon will be able to safely float down from any heights that a normal lemon cannot survive. So if it gets so many pixels high, when these lemmings start walking off a cliff, they splat to their death. But you can assign this. So once again, if you assign this floater position to a lemming, they will always be a floater unless obviously they fall in. Now another task is a bomber, and when selected, this lemon will explode, and it's on a 5-second timer. It'll destroy obstacles and portions of the playing field, but however, he will not harm other lemmings. But once commanded, he will count down, like I said, from 5, and you've got blockers, which these might be some of the most useful lemming skills that you can use. And basically, he'll just stop other lemons from walking past him. He just sticks his arms out, and basically they just turn their path. So if you got a blocker all the way at the right, and they're moving right, they're going to hit him and hang left. You've got a builder task, and they will build a bridge upward diagonally, whichever direction they were walking, up to 12 steps before he gives up. And you have to be kind of Johnny on the spot. It starts making a noise, like a countdown to 3, 2, 1, before he stops building. So you have to select that builder task again too. It's probably the most used one that I've used out of all these levels. You've got 2 more skills. You got the basher, and when selected, lemons will dig horizontally through obstacles that block his way forward. And after bashing the obstacle, he will no longer remain a basher, but some obstacles cannot be penetrated, and he can be commanded to do like another task during the bashing. But he will stop once commanded to do another task. So you could turn a basher into a blocker after time, or you could turn him into a bomber even. Now you have the miner, and then when he's selected, the lemon will pick downward, creating a diagonal tunnel in the direction he is facing. But some obstacles, once again, cannot be penetrated. He can also be commanded to do mining from the mining to do another task. So, like I said, you can stop these guys. And the thing is like once I read this manual, it made the game a little bit easier for me because I would select a basher and he would, dig horizontally for me, and he would just keep going. And then all the other lemons, I forgot one. I forgot the digger, and he digs straight down. So
The thing that I didn't like about it is like some of the like when they got to the screen, like the edges of the screens, like you could die doing that. That was annoying.
oh yeah, I mean it's the thing is the game can be forgiven. You just got to really use like all these skills or tasks, very distinctively. You got to kind of be smart. Like if you know that the ones you're going to walk towards the end, just put up a blocker. But the bad thing is a level might say that you have to get 100% of these guys, to the finish line. So you can't use a blocker and you can't use a bomber. You have to use basically a builder, or a basher, or a miner, or a climber, or a floater to make your path.
Yeah, I wasn't a fan of that. That peeved me. Like when I figured out that was
And there's other actions that they're not really found on that icon menu, so they can't really be selected. But you may notice when like your cursor is placed over that lemming, well, they're not performing like a skill or a task. They're actually given a name. Like you have walkers, which all they do is walk. You have a jumper, which if you select over that lemming, there might be like a small bump. He turns into a jumper for a second and basically jumps over it. You have a flipper, and that's a climber who has finished climbing. He just gets the name of a flipper. You have a waver, and that's a builder that has finished building. And then you got the athlete, and that's one that's commanded to do more than one skill. So you could be like a climber and a floater, and they become an athlete. Even though it doesn't really mean anything, but you just know that however many lemons you have assigned, you can figure out what they.
the one thing I did appreciate that they were bomb proof. Like you couldn't hurt the other ones by like if you were the bomb, like it didn't hurt the other ones.
Oh yeah, because this game is, like I said, as easy as it is, it's smart. And I learned very quickly that, obviously once you pick a blocker, you can't change them into anything else. When you can, like, if you have a climber, you can turn them into a floater. You can turn a bomber. I mean, obviously you can turn anybody into a bomber, but like if you have a builder, you can give them another action. But the thing about a blocker is once they're placed, they're stuck there until you blow them up. But it also made sense to me in the end because I was just selecting people as a bomber. And, obviously they're still walking their path and counting from 5 to 1. I would learn to instantly, wherever you want them to blow up at, turn them into a blocker and then turn them into a bomber.
That makes sense. I didn't think about that.
Yeah, it probably took me 35 levels to get into that. So once I got out of the whole, so it's set up in levels 30. You got your fun, tricky, taxing, and then mayhem. And then after that, you get some sunsoft levels, which is I think 4 or 5 fun levels. But after I completed the whole fun section, it really started getting hard around I think level 25, where you weren't just like, all right, let's just get them from point A to point B. You started had to climb and dig and get through all the stuff. And then when the tricky level started is when I really had to like really, really, really learn on how to like. That's when I learned how to turn the blockers into bombers. After you get done with the first 30 fun levels, this game is no longer fun.
No, I don't think I made it past. I don't think I finished tricky. Like best I remember.
Oh, I think I got maybe 15 levels into Tricky, and I noticed that I've had 4 hours into this game, and I was like, this is an 8-hour game when I'm done with it, if not more, because luckily, if you don't pass a level, you can restart it if you catch the timer in time.
I know at one point I messaged you and I was like, I've got solid 2 hours into it. Do I need to keep going? And you were like, yeah.
I mean, the thing is, it's a very repetitive game when it comes down to it, but it's like if you're able to play these games on your phone, like the little action packed maze type games, this is a game for it.
That was one of my notes. Like, this will make great mobile version. Like, there is mobile versions of it.
I don't know if I didn't find a mobile version for it, but I mean, there's obviously games that have gone off of this whole type before.
Like, I could see where this would be like for like an iPad or, that type of game. Like, it would make a great. Like,
I mean, it's a fun puzzle game. I mean, in the end, this is a fun puzzle game, and I mean, it got great reviews. And going off of our Game Informer stuff, like they basically said the concept that gave it a 9, which they said get ready for a game that is different from all others. Lemmings is an adventure puzzle, and if you like a game which you have to think fast, this is one not to be passed by because you obviously select with X and Y on the map down the bottom which skill you want to attach to. And obviously you select with A to whichever lemming. So you have to actually, you got to pay attention on the screen because these guys might come out fast, they might come out slow. So if you instantly need a builder, you're going to select with X or Y to find it on the map. Scroll over with the D-pad, select with A, then you instantly got to go back over and make a blocker because the guys don't build as fast as these guys walk. So you're either going to have people walking past you and over your builder, or you're going to have to block them. But you got to keep your blocker far enough away from the beginning of this builder because you got to turn him into a bomber, and he'll blow up the part of that staircase. So This game takes a lot of quick actions, and you got to be Johnny on the spot on it.
Did was there? So I didn't go with, like, on a lot of these. Like when I don't finish, I try to go in and at least look at some sort of ending. Is there any kind of ending to it? Like, is there
Yeah,
anything that happens
uh,
when you finish them all the levels?
it's really just a cutscene. It's a text and cutscene, and the thing is Japan got a different one from the U.S. and Europe. So it's basically just the lemon sliding down like a slope. And in Japan, the last one you can see its butt, and its face turns red. Which we know, the U.S. is all about censorship on these games. So instead of like the one that flashes its butt at the end, he basically just slides down and slides past all the other.
But that's it.
And I'm
Like, there's no,
yeah,
like. I mean, I know there's no story, but like there, it doesn't try to even play. Like it's mostly just arcadey.
yeah, it's very arcadey. I mean, you've got 125 levels, so you've got, obviously I mentioned the fun, tricky, taxing, and mayhem all at 30, and then you got the Sunsoft, which has 5 levels, which is kind of like a bonus. And I played. Luckily, each game has a password. Each level has a password, so you could pick up this game, and as long as you have the password list, you can play any of these levels that you want. And I played some of the Sunsoft ones, and they're not easy. Like it's like get 25%. You only get 4 lemmings, And I'm like, how?
I could see where this could make a comeback with like you know how like Mario Maker, like
Oh yeah.
I could see like an online community for like Lemmings level makers.
Oh, easily. And I mean, luckily, when Lemmings 2 came out is when the SNES mouse was out, so it's actually compatible with it. And I thought, like I said, this game would probably be 1,000 times better with a keyboard and mouse, where you can quick select.
Yeah, that would have made it a lot smoother. That's why I'm thinking, like, if there are mobile versions, like the tapping would make it a lot easier.
And I did learn like there's a lot of level name changes from the Japanese to the US, and one of them was in the Trickies. It was level 21. It was called All the Sixes, and obviously like it had 666 on the screen, and you had to get like 66 lemmings through it with a 6-minute timer. And obviously the US wasn't for that, so it turned into Ohio Lemming San in the US version.
What the fuck?
I don't know, but I mean, there had like one of the levels was called Mary Poppins Land, and the US changed it to Umbrella Land. There's one called Heaven Can Wait, and we changed it to Paradise Can Wait. I mean, just it was all the weird, US sense, like just even like people talk about Castlevania, how you don't see crosses, and they changed it. In the Japan version, there's a couple ones that had like wooden crosses in the background that got changed to basically, just some piles of wood.
Weird. Like, I don't know why they would change that stuff. I mean, I know it's Nintendo, but I don't know why.
Well, hell, even in the access codes to type in the passwords, in Japan they got the full alphabet, where in US and Europe they got rid of all the vowels.
That's kind of funny.
Yeah. So I mean, obviously, if you're gonna play this, if you're anybody that's playing it, if you're gonna play this not on original hardware, or maybe on original hardware and you have a Famicom, go get the Japanese version, because obviously it's much better. I mean, the terrain's better, the graphics a little bit different. You get the real names of some of these maps, just like one that was called Just for Fun to the Death, and in America it just goes Just for Fun or to Your Doom. I mean, obviously, if you want to play the hardcore version, you got to get the Japanese.
And then you're going to be struggling trying to read, or catching the coronavirus.
That is true. I mean, that'd be the Chinese version. So, but I mean, it's making its way.
Tomato, potato.
Now. Yeah, but I mean, in the end, this is a PC port that turned over to the Super. I think it's honestly, I mean, if you're into these type of games, this is a fun one to play.
Yeah, it's not bad. I couldn't see myself sitting down with it and like sitting in front of the computer for a very long time. Like I said, I mentioned I had to push myself to do it, to the point to where when I messaged you, I was like, "Do I have to keep going?" And I'm usually the one that's trying to finish it.
Hey, but in the end, if this game did not exist, which one of the developers is DMA Design, if this game did not exist, you wouldn't have Grand Theft Auto, because DMA Design turned into Rockstar North.
That's funny and weird to think about at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, so I need a ROM hack of Grand Theft Auto with.
I'm surprised they haven't stuck it in, like, you can walk up to like arcade machines and stuff like that, like that it hasn't popped up on one of those in game.
Yeah, I mean that makes sense. I mean, like I said, this game, we haven't even got to the ratings yet, so I mean, we're gonna get to that really eventually. But like I said, if you're into this type of whole puzzle type games, this is easily one of the best ones that you could probably pick up. For an older.
I'm trying to look up and it looks like there is some mobile versions. Sony 2018 Sony launched an official Lemmings game for mobile. It's available on both Android and iOS.
I mean, that's fun. I mean, I honestly I enjoy the Super Nintendo version. I would like to probably play the sequel to this, see how much different it is. I mean, obviously the mobile is going to be highly updated, but I couldn't imagine.
I could see where it could be like almost like an endless runner though. Like it could be one of those things where it just constantly has new levels come out. Like it
Oh, for
never
sure.
ends.
Well, I don't want to even cut this episode short, but do you want to get into the ratings?
Yeah, I don't know what else there is to talk about with it. To be honest, like I feel like these first couple of episodes from the Game Informer, like the games are super short and super basic, and I know it's because of going back to that time period and like those type of games, but there's just not a ton to dig into with
Yeah,
them. They're pretty
because
pretty basic.
I mean, this episode, this issue came out the February 1992. This is only the third episode. I mean, I don't know why I always say episode because we're on our episode, but this is the third issue. Dig that word issue back into my, memory banks. But it gets better deep on. I mean, I think after this first year, after we get past 1992 and into 1993, I think it really gets a lot better. So luckily, there's only one, two, four more issue eras, and it starts really changing after that. So you got to kind of get through with the worst before you get to the best.
That's what they all say.
But the thing about this game is it starts off easy, it starts getting hard, and it does get taxing. Like they give you the titles to these and the mayhem. So it's a fun game. It really is. If you just play the first 30 levels, you've done yourself good beating that. But then obviously it starts getting harder, the tricky and taxing. And some of these levels, I probably started off 15 times before I got the hang of it. And the thing is I never looked up a cheat code because this isn't a game you cheat on. This is a game you just get through. And I didn't look up through a walk through any of them. Because obviously you can take multiple paths to try to find your.
Yeah, it feels like it set up a lot of like trial and error. Kind of like like current game, like Super Meat Boy, for example. Like there's a whole lot of trial and error to like how do I complete this level, like from a puzzle standpoint.
Oh yeah, and I think that was some of the best fun about this is like you're like I could either build a platform and jump over this, and then have to like safely build another one for the other ones to walk down, or I can just really mine my way through this whole wall. If I,
You want to go ahead and get into our ratings? Do you have anything
yeah,
else?
man, that's really it, man. Other than I enjoyed this game, so Micah, if you're going to rate this game and put it in your collection on your nice, wonderful 5-tier shelf you have over there, you've got your glass case for your most coveted of all time. You've got your top shelf. You've got your middle shelf. You got your bottom little basket of John Voight's down there, or your basket of Super Mario Brother 2 games down there, or the hole in the wall, or put it underneath the shelf. Just the shit to the side is the bottom. Where are you going to put this in your?
So I'm trying to look at it from a viewpoint of where it stands and what it's done for the industry, like as far as moving forward, like and what it set up. So I don't want to go like bottom, like under the shelf, like side basket, wicker basket, whatever. Like I don't think it's that bad, but it's definitely a bottom shelf just because it feels like I would have needed the SNES mouse to fully appreciate it. Like some of the gameplay felt clunky. Does that make sense?
Oh, most definitely. I mean, and like I mentioned, I hate that we both siding on like wanting the mouse for this, but like, and it gets back to even clunkiness. If we got back to like when we talked about Doom, like obviously the mouse works 1,000 times better than the D pad, and obviously But the thing is, you got to be quick on this game, and I think just having that controller and all those multiple commands at one time is too much for this game.
Yeah, it's a whole lot of input, and like have trying to cursor around with the D-pad just made it kind of frustrating. But like I like the puzzle aspect of it. I'm definitely going to try, like, as long as it's not, if it's a free to play mobile game, then I'm going to check it out. I ain't trying to pay for some damn mobile games. Um, but I'm gonna check that out. I liked it enough to check that out. So because of that, I'll keep it on the bottom shelf instead of putting it in the discard bin. What about you? What shelf?
Man, so with this really being like early level, like puzzle type games, and I can't ever say that I ever played this before. I want to say I've seen it, or I may have played something similar to this in the past. I really want to put this on the middle shelf because it's a fun game nonetheless. And I can't it's not pure trash to me, but I also can't see myself saying, "Hey, I just want to play Lemons like nonstop." But like this would be a fun game to show to like a teenager kid that's like, "Hey man, like I want to see how you do on this game." Like it's almost like a challenge game. Like let's see how far you can go without, being 100% stuck. So it's not a bad game. I can't say it's pure trash to me because in that bargain bin, like the bin to the side, like it's gonna be rare to throw anything in there, especially with this game being as enjoyable as it is. I couldn't really put it on the bottom shelf because I honestly do see myself saying, "Yeah, I want to revisit this game, in X amount of years to see how it is," because it's a good test on the old noggin.
I could see where it would be a good like competition cart game. Like you were talking about that earlier, like with the ones you were taking with you to Louisville.
Yeah,
Like
yeah, the
I
world
could see,
blockbuster.
yeah, I could see where this would be a good competition cart game to like. All right, you got 5 minutes. How many levels can you get through?
Oh yeah, because when I started playing this early in the morning, before I noticed it was like 10 o'clock, and I was like, "Damn!" I'm like, time's kind of you don't really pay attention to time flying by in this game, but I mean, it's probably because I died a lot. And I was
Uh,
gonna say we didn't really get to talk about the music in this, which it can be a little annoying. It's kind of like the remixes of like almost like children's songs a little bit, but to the point. I think if there's any other type of music other than what they gave you for this, it would make it actually a bad game. So I mean, the music, even though it's 16-bit type music, it's actually it fits the game.
I had mine muted.
I mean, I can understand that. I mean, it's some it is, but I mean, the beat and the tempo work well with all.
I guess if that is it on Lemmings for the SNES, we can go ahead and jump into our outro and start wrapping this motherfucker up.
Yeah, yeah, it's the outro. It's the motherfucking outro.
If you have made it this far, we appreciate you listening as always. I don't know why you did, but thanks anyways.
And we're sorry.
Hope you didn't come for Lemmings talk. And if you did, just listen to that part twice.
Yeah, yeah.
You can find all of our previous episodes at digitalcartridgepodcast.com. There are also links on that page at the very top that you can click on, and it'll take you over to our t-shirt page on Amazon. That's right, t-shirts. We have Digital Cartridge Podcast t-shirts and Digital Cartridge Podcast hoodies. You can help support us by buying one of those and rocking the gear and saying, we like your shit, or we like your memes, or we just like you in general. You can also click on there to go to our Patreon. For the Patreon, you can give as little as $1 and be a member of that. Get access to some pretty good backlog stuff on there, and also help us out and support us.
We'll get some new shit up on there real soon. I mean, it's like I said, I was basically MIA for the whole month of February.
Yeah, and you know, I'm not eating any more hot shit, but we can do something.
I was gonna say if you end up at the Louisville Arcade Expo coming up this weekend, holler at me. I'll have some stickers with me, so I'll be more than happy to unload some to you.
There are links on there to all of our social media outlets, pages, groups, whatever. And then of course you can find all of our places where we stream if you're not already familiar with us from a streaming service. If you happen to run across the autoplay video on Facebook and listen this far. If you're on Facebook, Not only do we have the original OG digital cartridge page, which has become like meme central.
Yeah, it's where the meme lords play.
That thing, that has got a ton of traffic. So I would love to see some of that traffic turn into listens and downloads. That would be amazing. But if you're into that real like dark web memes that you don't want your grandma to see, you can look up the Facebook group. It's called Digital Cartridge Underground, and it is linked on the actual Facebook page as well.
Yeah, it's funny because somebody mentioned how they missed the old name, and that was Uncle Touchy's Naked Puzzle Basement. And if it wasn't for the name change, I don't think we'd get the traffic we have now. So
No, we definitely definitely would not. You can always call us if you want. That number is 470 digital. That's 470-344-4825. You can leave us a voicemail talking about whatever topic we're covering, or if you just want to shoot the shit with us or ask for sex advice, because that's happened none. But that is, we'll play those voicemails in real time after the outro music and respond to them in real time. You can always also help us out by leaving us a 5-star review on iTunes. That goes a long way. It helps our show populate up higher when people go to look for video gaming podcast. And if you leave a recommendation in there, I'll tell you that we're not going to do it, but we appreciate it.
yeah, most definitely. So other than that, I mean, if you got an iPhone and you're listening, head on over there. Give us a 5-star review. Help us reach those charts. I just want to be, in the top 5,000 just once in my life.
For once in my life.
Remember, Micah, it's not game, it's a 3-way.
Do you want to tell all these good fine folk that are still listening what we're going to be covering for our next episode?
Yes, sir. I'll tell you very much. So, like I said, possibly you might have all these issues of Game Informer and might know what's coming, but if you don't, we're off to issue number 4 in the spring 1992 Super Adventure Island for the Super Nintendo, which I know our good buddy Jory that was on the Splatterhouse episode over in his group 8-Bit Oddities, this was their game of the month for, I want to say, February. So I might ask him about it, or maybe we can bring somebody back, or he might just give us some info on it.
I've never heard of this game in my life.
Well, I can tell you the dude's got a ball cap and a boomerang, and he's riding in a little mine cart from the picture I'm seeing.
Word.
So I've heard this game's pretty easy. So maybe I'll have some good stuff to talk about it, maybe not. Some of the other games coming up, I can't say they're as good. So hopefully this is a good one.
All right, let's get the fuck out of here. Go to bed. It's storming. That's gonna be good sleeping weather.
Ooh, adios amigos.